All right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome to another. Whoa, let me get centered here. Sorry about that. Welcome to another edition of the Cross and the Crescent discussion group. This is a live stream show dedicated rightly dividing the truth between Christianity and Islam. I am your host, Eric the Kafir. Eric Thakafir, coming to you live from the cavernous depths of the Kafir Cave in Dar al Harb, Kafiristan. Thank you for those who've shown up already. And those who will show up. Darcy's been with us for 15 minutes. We were having some good discussions in the chat, or not in the chat, in the, what would you call that? I guess you call it the green room. I guess this was the pre-show stuff. But anyway, welcome to the show tonight. We didn't have a show last night, 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. I'm going to be brutally honest. I always try to be brutally honest with everybody. We had a show on, what would happen if Sharia came to the United States? And so I go through this book right here, Reliance to the Traveler, and I, list, 50 different things in there that are just absolutely anomalous to the United States Constitution. We just can't have it. Women not being able to leave their homes, for crying out loud, beating your wife, for crying out loud, or engaging in jihad to do what? To advance this. All of these things are antithetical to the United States Constitution. And we went through these. Well, I don't know. Nobody really watched the show. And, I don't know. It just kind of made me feel down. And, maybe I shouldn't get that way. But, I do. I'm human. And, you'd like to see people participating in the show, asking you for the PowerPoint that I generated for it.
You're doing supervision with Rachel, right?
You got a hot mic, brother. There we go. I think I muted that. Cool. So last week I was just really melancholy about not doing a show. I didn't do a show last week, so I'm trying to do my best to be disciplined to have the show every Wednesday at 5:00. And Rad's the one that actually kind of demanded that we do it this week. I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and knock this sucker out. And the hottest topic that I picked from our little world here was what's going on in Nigeria. I purposely left Sudan out of this because the Sudan, when we look at what's happening in the Sudan, that's Muslim on Muslim violence. They're killing their own people. When you talk about the number of people that have been literally, when you talk about ethnic cleansing and genocide, that's Sudan. That's what's going on there. But that's Muslim on Muslim violence. But nobody says boo when Muslims do it to each other. But God help you, a Muslim gets killed by a Jew or a Christian. Oh my goodness, it's like, the world's on fire. We can't have it. And I've always said this, so I'm going to say it again. Islam is a religion that is in need of, what do we call it? Affirmative action. There we go. Some type of affirmative action program. If they don't have protection from, I was going through Grok today. Grok is even protect. I was doing some research on Nigeria, and it was just saying, well, we don't want to. What did it say? Do I need to bring this up? Yeah. We don't want to be. We want to be sensitive. Shut your flipping mouth. Let's see. All available. These figures primarily come from advocacy. Anyway, while the above stats are used to argue genocide, they are contested, and then it lists a bunch of Muslim sites saying that these these numbers in Nigeria are not really are not real. Let's see, in whole and part religious ethnic Nigeria violence in the north. Okay,
hey, just Eric,
I'm tired of listening to that. What?
You gotta mute. What's the name? Etha, dude. He's like your class, dude. You can't hear him.
No.
You gotta mute him, dude.
I did mute him. He is muted. Etha, are you muted, dude? Come on.
Right. Yeah, I've been muted the entire time. I don't know what's going on.
I think Rad's got voices going off in his head.
All right, whatever.
Can you hear him now? Rad, can you hear him now? Hello. Radical Moderate, can you hear Issa now? Because if you look at the board.
No, I'm in my new car, so.
Oh, you don't know how to operate things, or? Oh, you know
Not
what
yet. I just got.
I know.
I just got the Bluetooth hooked up.
Okay, cool.
So.
Okay, so Nigeria. So today we're going to be talking about Nigeria. Now, what I did was I did pull up a bunch of articles, statistics, and I'm not going to sit here and bore you with reading the article, and I'm not going to bore you with the slideshow, but I just want to point out a couple things about Nigeria itself. Now, Nigeria, of course, country in Central Africa. Do I get a map of that up there? I do not have my Nigeria on my map up there. You can see my map up here. That's mainly of the Middle East, but Nigeria is in western Africa. The northern part of it is mainly Muslim, some part is mainly Christian, and you have Muslims doing what Muslims do, jihad. And what is jihad for? Is to advance the religion. It's right here in this little green book right here. It's to advance the religion. That is the Sharia. That's what it says it's used for. And what they're doing is they're attacking Christians and Christian villages, and they're killing people by the thousands. This year alone, they have killed over since January 2025. They've killed over 7,000 Christians in Nigeria. 7,000 for their faith. That comes out to about 32 a day. 32 people a day in Christians, your Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria are killed for their faith by Muslims. How many Muslims per day are killed by Christians for their faith? If you came up with 32 within the past decade, you would be lucky. But this is per day. And we had a show a couple of weeks ago called "Islam is a Death Cult." It is. It is literally a death cult. They love it, and they even tell you, we love death more than you love life. If you believe that, you are in a death cult. If you think that killing other people is killing somebody, another human being that is created in the image of God, is doing a service to God, you are a sick mother. I'm going to say it, but you are just a sick individual. Your brain has been warped and contorted by the Quran and by the example set forth by that guy that you call a prophet. You look at some of the statistics that come down through this. Churches, there's about 100 churches every month that are destroyed in Nigeria. Since 2009, 19,000. 19,000. Think about that number for just a second. 19,000 churches have been attacked, burned, or shut down at gunpoint. 19,000. How many years has this? It's been 16. Is that 16 years? That's over 1,000 a year. That's over 3 a day. And what have we heard? What have we heard from people? Oh no, we can't. No, from the river to the sea. Shut your flipping mouth. Of these people that they kill every day, 32 per day. In addition to that, they abduct people. You never guess what population they abduct. I know. This is kind of a hard one to figure out. Crusty old men like me? No. No, what the heck? The only thing I'm going to do is talk their ear off. They're going to try to shoot me right on the spot. They abduct young women. What do you think that they abduct young women for? I give you one guess, but that might be just a little too many. When they abduct these women, they're held for ransom, forced conversion, or what? Sexual slavery. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Remember that little hashtag thing that Mike Obama did, or Michelle Obama did a couple years ago? Hashtag bring back our girls. Where do you think that was from? They kidnapped all those girls. You know how many of those girls they got back? One, if I'm not mistaken. Who are we talking about? Deceit, Manuel. Oh, Manuel Shahid's here. Oh, hi, Manuel. Mostly known. Okay. So yep, exactly right, sir. Exactly right. Let me see. What else we got here? The perpetrators. Well, who are the perpetrators of all these crimes against these Nigerian Christians be done by? Well, Boko Haram, which is the haram is good, is acceptable. Boko is the book, so the good book. So they're talking about the Quran. The Islamic State, ISIS in West Africa. And then it even talks about some of these Fulani militants. What are these Fulani militants? These Fulani militants are governmental aligned Muslims is what they are. They're not Christians. These are Muslims aligned with the government, and they're just making this excuse that the Christians are out there farming and they want their farmland. No, they don't. They want them dead. They want to ethnically cleanse the Christians from their lands. And nobody is saying anything. I'd like to see some Muslims try to come up on here and defend this. I'd like to see that. I sent a link to a couple Muslims before the show. They probably won't come. I know they're not going to come. When we look at precedents in the past of this occurring, because when you look at what they're trying to do is they're trying to erase the Christians out of, or wipe the Christians out of Nigeria. You know, what examples do we have of countries that nobody went to the rescue and they wanted to wipe out Christianity? Well, I mean, look at Egypt. What did they do for Egypt for years? The Coptic Christians, you got a small population there. It's very highly persecuted today. The Coptic Christians in Egypt were forced to, I mean, you had an active and thriving community there of Coptic Christians. And what did they do? They ended up killing them, forcing them to flee. Another one group is the Jews. North Africa used to have hundreds and not millions of Jews in it. Doesn't have but a couple thousand now. Why is that? Well, they were ethnically cleansed. They were exiled after, Israel formed its own country. They said, go to Israel, get out of our country. And then now what do they want to do? They will get out of that country. Muslims are never happy until everybody is either a Muslim or dead. That's what their Allah wants. If I'm wrong, correct me. Point it out in the Quran. Show me where I'm wrong. Another one was Turkey. Look at Turkey. For all them years, Byzantine, Constantinople held the line, was able to defend itself right there in the Bosphorus. And finally, I think it was 1453, I think, is where the Muslims finally were able to sack that city. And the biggest cathedral in the entire world, the Hagia Sophia, what did they do to that? Well, they turned it into the mosque. That's right. They turned the cathedral into the mosque. There's your victory right there, Miss. If we were in Baghdad when we were in Iraq, we took that country over in like a week. I mean, it was Saddam's forces threw down their guns, changed, got rid of their uniforms. Why? Because they knew that the gig was up. There's nothing they could do. And I personally don't blame them. If we wanted to, we could have taken those mosques and converted them into, you take your pick. But we had a policy, a specific policy. We do this to ourselves. We bend over backwards to accommodate these dolts, these religious bigots. Why? Because people are afraid of, you're going to be called an Islamophobe. You have an irrational fear of Islam. This idea that there's an irrational fear of Islam is absolute lunacy. We have 1,400 years of violence and aggression from Islam towards Christianity and Judaism. 1,400 years. We have the example, or they say they have the example, of their false prophet, their Muhammad. And you're going to try to tell me that that we don't know our history, that we don't know what Islam has done and what they've historically done. They're just doing the same thing. So anytime that they say that we're peaceful, they're full of shit. So, sorry. What else we got here? Let's see. Christianity in Nigeria, by allowing them to do this. This is another great point from this article I'm reading here, is that to allow the jihadists to ethnically cleanse the Christians from Nigeria, it doesn't satisfy their bloodlust. To take all the Christians out of Nigeria will not satisfy the bloodlust and the desires for expansionism by these Muslims. The only thing you're going to do by not doing anything is embolden them, because what that's going to tell them is saying, oh, look, they're not going to do anything. We can go in and we can just raise this entire village, shoot as many people, kill as many Christians as we want to, and they're not going to do anything about it. It is complete foolishness not to raise your hand as a Christian. And I get it. What was that teaching of Christ? Somebody strikes you on the cheek, turn the cheek and offer him the other. Yeah, that's we do that when we deal with each other personally. We're to be congenial to people and conciliatory to people, but not governments, not collectively when people are coming in and mowing us down and killing us. That that's not what that verse is talking about. These people are flipping demons, demon-possessed human beings. And yeah, I don't even call them a human being. They're just demon possessed. Now, what I found interesting is that during the article, it says it talks about Trump during his first administration, he labeled Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And what that does is that limits the amount of trade that can go on between the two countries. And he did this specifically. He did this specifically because of the persecution that was going on or being perpetrated against the Christians. So he puts them in this type of category for the State Department, which would place some severe limits. It's not putting sanctions on them, but it's almost doing it. Well, after Trump leaves office, for some mysterious reason, Biden reverses the decision. And then the attacks on Christian, and he did this as the attacks were increasing or intensifying. What sense in the world does that make? Well, in the Biden world, that makes all the sense in the world. Thank God we have Senator Ted Cruz from Texas. He has put forth a bill. Now, let's see, here's the bill. It's called the Nigeria Religious Freedom Accountability Act of 2025. And what this does is it puts real costs on Nigerian officials who either enable or ignore the persecution. Because this is what it takes is for this persecution to continue, is the Nigerian officials to allow it. They're not doing anything. It's like Chicago and sorry, Rad, but it's like the people the mayor in Chicago not doing anything about all the illegal immigrants they have up there.
Hey, Eric, haven't you heard? Chicago is the safest and most affordable big city in America. Yeah. Yep. But real quick, let me just address the part regarding why did Biden do this? It wasn't Biden. It was the auto pen, dude. President Auto Pen. That old man had no clue what the hell he was doing. Okay? I mean, seriously. But no, bottom line is this. Whoever was running the auto pen, the reason why they did it is because they hate Christians. I mean, that's as simple as that. I'm sorry, I can't say it any other way. Look at these administrations and what they do. Everything is against, Christianity. What's that?
I think that's Issa again.
Uh,
Yeah, there you go. I think he's got it. Yeah. It's okay. Repeat that last thing you said, Rad, because that came up and was rattling in my brain. Say that again.
That actually freaked me out. Like I said, I'm in a brand new car. I got the Bluetooth hooked up. I'm like, am I getting interference? Is there someone behind me talking mashallah? Anyway, no, I was saying that look at everything that the Democrats are doing. It is all anti-Christian, pretty much down to the core. Okay, I mean anti-law and order. I mean, no, they're not soft on crime. They're actually pro-crime. Look at the DSA. That's Mum Downey's group. That's what's her name? The one that makes Muslim men love goats. Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. Okay, and who is Cory Booker? And there's a couple others. They're all Democrat Socialists of America. That's actually their party. They only run under the Democratic Party because for some reason the Democratic Party wants them in. And the Democrat Socialists all say we want to destroy the Democrat Party from within. They actually hate it. But anyway, I gotta get over here. Hold on. Bottom line is this. Oh, thank you very much, sir. They let me in. Anyway, so bottom line is this. You look at their agendas. They literally want to empty out all the jails. Empty out free. No, honestly, it is so pro-crime. It's because they honestly are criminals. They really want to create New York City to be Gotham City after they release everybody from Arkham Prison. It's like they're following that as a blue book, you know? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Blueprint, sorry. That's all I wanted to say.
No, we
So, you guys
exactly what you're saying. But when you start talking about Biden and the people that affiliated with his administration, this is the type of garbage that you get from it. And you're absolutely right. I think that political party, I would think, and I would say that the majority of Democrats don't agree with that. I would hope so, at least.
Well, see that. Right now, Eric, right now there is an actual civil war, and it looks like the DSA part of the Democrats, the crazies, the lunatics, looks like they're winning. Seriously, AOC is now the de facto leader of the Democrat Party.
Right.
Okay. I mean, no, Chuck Schumer.
That idea. You're absolutely right. I agree with you 100%. That wing of that party has taken over and has become the leadership. Has become the squeakiest wheel gets all the grease, right? And that's what they're going to. And the ilks of Omar and Tlaib both. Yeah, this is what you get, and this is your religious bigotry, your religious supremacism being asserted in our Congress. Now, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but I hope that these people get traction and take over the leadership of the Democratic Party. And here's why. As I said, I honestly believe the majority of people in the Democratic Party don't believe these things, do not embrace or endorse these things that the people who were in the Biden administration, that actually ran the administration, believed in, and what they perpetuated in their policies, including the lifting of this. What was this called? This is called, again, let me make sure I got it. It was a country of particular concern when they lifted that labeling. That's the part of the party that I believe that the majority of the Democrats would not agree with. But the bottom line is,
here's the thing that Chuck Schumer's done. His little stunt of closing the government for 40 days for no freaking reason, and then opening up. I mean, I find this amazing. Democrats complain that the government is shut down. Now that they're voting to open the government, guess what? They're complaining that the government's opening because they didn't get squat. There was no reason for this. It was just Chuck Schumer wanted to stand up to Trumpism. He wanted to show them so he wouldn't be primaried, or so AOC wouldn't run against him. Well, guess what? That's done. Chuck Schumer's done. He's probably going to be resigning. At least from the Senate, or at least from leadership in the Senate, probably by the end of the year. But definitely AOC will be the serious contender for New York governor, or senator, which is a scary thing in itself. But no, I do agree with you, dude. I do hope they take over because, yeah, true, it'll make the bluer states blue, but the rest of the country will go even deeper red. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's
the
natural flow. If that is in fact the Democratic Party, the hardcore leftist people will win the primaries, but when they get to the general, they'll lose.
Exactly.
Even if you run a centrist Republican, they will still lose. So let's just hope that gains traction, and then that way you get more people in there to support this legislation that Ted Cruz wants to put in there, which will put Nigeria back on this list of a country of particular concern. And what really needs to happen is a lot of these officials in Nigeria, they just need to be publicly shamed. A little light is always the best disinfectant. And when their crimes are exposed for allowing these Muslims to go out and slaughter their fellow countrymen, yeah, I think the people in Nigeria will in fact rise up and take a stand against that. Does anybody else have anything they want to say about Nigeria? Anything that we should be doing with or for them, other than providing verbal support and having them?
I just want to say that President Trump, sometimes he's, I agree with most of the stuff he does. And I know he's a lot of bluster, a lot of, ego and all that stuff. But I tell you what, man, I am so thankful for what he did and what he said, even if he doesn't do anything. Just for him to take that stand with for the Christians of Nigeria like that. I think that, when you think about it, what is the benefit to him, in all the electoral problems that's going on in America and everything? But he stood with people that are being persecuted, that are suffering, that CNN doesn't care about, that New York Times doesn't care about, that the Democrats don't care about. I mean, half of the country, and he took a stand for them. And no matter what happens, even if he doesn't do anything, just the fact that he did that was so great. And I'm so thankful that he did that.
Yeah, and I love that point that you made, because what does he have to gain by doing this? What is politically? Every time the guy turns around, everybody's suffering. Every time you turn around, people are suffering from stage 5 TDS. They can't help themselves. And then to turn around and do something so blatantly pro-Christian, calling out the violence for what it is. It is religiously motivated ethnic cleansing is what's going on. Look at how much lip service has been paid to this before. Last time it was even addressed was in the first Trump administration, and that they didn't even make any public statements about it, or he didn't anyway. But now, for a president using that bully pulpit to come out and make that statement and say how evil it is, that you're absolutely right. That is, we all wish that he would go further and condemn Islam as a death cult parading as a religious or as a religion. But he would, the next thing he'd probably be appearing on this show and getting in trouble all over the place, and people threatening to have him fired or whatnot.
If I just one other thing that about this is what's infuriating for me is the way CNN, New York Times, and the liberal media came down. Maybe it's just because Trump said something that they had to disagree with it and say, you know what, that's not really happening. There isn't this Christian thing. It's just everybody's being killed over there in Nigeria. Right. And it's just like, the New York Times literally says, is this really happening? Not really. This isn't really. There is some slaughter of Christians. No, there is some slaughter of Christians, but it's not like this genocide of Christians, and it's just like, And CNN was this. I believe it's CNN and the New York Times, and there were a couple of political, maybe a couple of those left-wing rags that they're trying to say, no, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. And it's like they want to have the narrative that Trump is just this bumbling idiot out there, you know. And I don't really care about the Trump, what they think about Trump, but just the fact that they're so, you know, they totally ignored the situation, and now they want to say, you know, well, yeah, there's a few Christians being killed, and it's like, so anyway,
it isn't just in the media. You go to the AI bots. Like I said, I was going to Grok earlier, and I'm trying to pull this information out of Grok. Like, okay, you know, tell me, you know, give me the article where the BBC, because I couldn't remember where it came from, where the BBC says that there is there's a genocide, Christian genocide going in Nigeria. It comes back. There is no BBC article. I said, okay, well, cite the British the British official from the government that said that there's Christian genocide. There is no British official, and I had to press them, and it finally comes out where it says that a British official said that there is near genocide level, and even the bots, the AI bots, we want to be sensitive and shut up. This is a death cult. This isn't being sensitive to their feelings. No, I don't give a flipping rat's rear end about their feelings. They are ethnically cleansing, killing other people because of their religious beliefs. The time for playing nice and being nice to this death cult, to this ideology, those days are long past. We have that ship has sailed. When you look worldwide, who's being killed? I mean, let's just look at Nigeria, for example. I said, okay, because it says, well, Muslims are also being killed in Nigeria. Okay, who's killing the Muslims? So I pulled it up here. Let's see, who is killing the Muslims? Oh, other Muslims. That's who's doing it. It isn't Christians. I list the number of Christians attacking Muslims, and it's like 260 some or whatever. And then I said, okay, correlate that with the number of Christian villages that were attacked. It turns out that these Christians that are killing other Muslims are, did I suddenly lose somebody? Yeah, we lost her. These Christians that are killing other Muslims are doing it in self-defense when these Muslims are attacking their villages. So this idea, and again, we get back to this, you know, regardless of what is in your
I would like to make a point here. The Muslims claim they're all of one mind, but yet, like Eric said, Muslims are killing other Muslims, other sects.
Look at the Sudan.
And I keep asking, who are the real Muslims? Because they all say each other is not the real ones. But thank you.
Yeah, look again.
You guys honestly can't hear Issa?
No.
Where is this coming from?
I don't know.
Oh, it's the
Can you guys hear Issa in the background?
No, it's not Issa. It's Steve. It's Steve.
Steve?
You don't hear that?
Is that from my? But I was muted.
No. Who's the one in the center? Turkish people. You don't hear them talking?
No, that's Darcy, right?
Then what is Darcy got something playing in the background? We're talking about Turkish people?
No, I don't know.
So you guys didn't hear that. All right.
Darcy, are you in Turkey right now?
No. Oh, never mind. Just never mind. We got someone in this chat that is in like a group setting where they're talking to people in Arabic. Okay? And you guys aren't even hearing it. But then when I chime in, they shut up. All right. When we release the YouTube stream, I'll go cut out the clips and I'll play it for you.
Okay. It isn't I don't believe you. It's not I don't believe you. I don't know what did you okay, and you logged out and you came back in and it's still doing it?
Yeah, because I had to go into the store to get some lottery tickets.
Yo, boy, yeah.
You like lottery tickets?
Oh no, sorry, never mind. Anyway,
I know I was buying lottery tickets.
Yes.
I'm thinking about probably go get myself a couple, maybe 3 or 4. How much is it up to? Like $1 billion or 995
I don't
million?
even know. I don't know.
It's up quite. I saw it on the tell. I don't watch TV, but I did see it on the TV. Okay. Let's go ahead and cover this topic: Christian Zionism. Can we shift gears here to Christian Zionism? Does anybody want to talk about Christian Zionism? Does anybody here? Does anybody here? I don't know, in chat, even in chat or here on the panel, consider themselves a Christian Zionist?
No.
I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Oh, it's okay. I got it right here. That's okay. All right. Let me. Christian Zionism is a movement supporting the return of Jewish people to a homeland in Israel, based on. But here's the key thing: based on interpretations of the Bible, that this is a divine promise. A core belief is that this return is a necessary step towards the second coming of Jesus, and that supporting Israel will lead to God's blessing for supporters.
I guess I am, because I do believe, the reason I believe Israel is back there is because there's so many prophecies that it's going to be back there. And so, and if that's the case, then yes, I guess I am Christian Zionist.
This is funny.
Well, prophecy says God will call his people back to Israel. We're all over the world, and we're being called home. So,
okay, Rad, your opinion was no. Or are you still buying lottery?
No, because no, my opinion is no. Because although you read that definition, that's not exactly what they mean when someone says Christian Zionist. Okay.
What do they mean then?
I can explain why. So basically, it's the version that some people are like trying to promote here is on that part where the Jews returning ushers in the second coming of Christ part. They actually think that, okay, hold on your hats, that yes, we got to get all the Jews in one place so that when Jesus comes, he can kill them all in that one place. I'm not making it up. That's what they mean.
Who believes this? Who believes that?
It's basically like a white Christian nationalist kind of thing. No, they believe the reason why the Jews have to all come back to Israel is because then they're all in one place and they can all be killed much more easily. Not making it up.
That sounds actually like what Islam teaches.
No, that's like a Muslim view today.
The trees,
exactly.
The trees and rocks are going to be saying, "There's a Jew behind me, come kill him." Right. I mean, I definitely don't believe that.
Well, no, I know that. So you can say Christian Zionist. Okay, yeah, you have one thing, but when the people are talking about this one of how they're talking about that Christian Zionism, which is basically a white. See, that's why you got to be careful with terms. What do you mean by this? But when they say, because you can read their Twitter feeds or X feeds, they literally openly preach this. Okay, it's time to kill all the Jews. Oh, just go follow some of the accounts that are promoting this Christian Zionism, dude. And you got to dig down into the comments, okay? All right. I'll share when I later, maybe tonight or whatever. I'll try and find some and give you the examples. But yeah, no, it's not a pretty thing. Just like you can say, okay, I believe in nationalism, okay? All right? Now, I believe in the United States of America, nation state United States of America. Okay, that's a good thing, right? But then you have people that say, no, nationalism as in like National Socialism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you see how they flip it? Okay.
Well, they always want to associate everything with Nazism. Say, oh, well, they were too nationalistic. That's true. Okay. Anytime that you say that your people are the superior race, I think you've taken nationalism just a little too far. Duh. But they never use it in the context and what it's supposed to. There's nothing wrong with being, I'm probably one of the, proud of, and I love my country. I have all kinds of pride in being an American. Does that mean I'm an American nationalist? Probably. But that doesn't mean that I'm a religious supremacist or a racial supremacist of any sort. but I love my country, and I think it's the greatest country on the planet. So I can see where, of course, there's people that always want to take things, way out to the limits in which it shouldn't be. And the same thing I think is true here of this Christian Zionism. And here's why I'm gonna get myself in trouble. And I know I'm probably gonna set Rad on fire here. Is that the reason why I bring this up is because wasn't AP in this big to-do blow up that him and Sam are going through right now, accused of being a Christian Zionist, or both of them called Christian Zionists? Am I right?
He said he's not. He said he's not.
Well, that's because AP is going by when AP is going by that Christian Zionist, the one group that I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, but
he said
either way, right? Exactly.
He said what again?
He said his support for Israel is not because both he and David said they are not Christian Zionists. But you know what? To tell you the truth, I think my view, my opinion, because I think I am a Christian Zionist. I believe the Jews are there because the Bible says they're going to be there, and I'm I believe it's a fulfillment of prophecy. I see so many prophecies, all from Genesis through Revelation, that they're going to be back. And so that's why I believe that they're there, and they have a divine right by God's word for them to be there, which that would classify me as a Christian Zionist. But I think that there's a semantic game going on that is trying to, based on the media, and I blame the left and the New York Times, to associate Christian Zionists with radical, racist Nazis or something, just something to make us look bad, like everything that, is conservative. They try to make it look bad.
It's like what they do in
but
the UK
I really think it's a
people who disagree
thing.
with mass immigration. They call them right-wingers. Everybody's a right-winger. That if you disagree with letting, hordes of Muslims into your country who are raping your daughters, and you're against that, well, then you're a right-winger.
And a racist,
And a racist too. Yeah, don't forget that term.
Alt-right, and racist, and yeah. See what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and I this idea of being a Christian Zion, Israel. A lot of people don't realize that I approach it kind of from a historical perspective. When we start using historical methodologies from, this is what I do. But I look at, okay, so how many societies have there been in world history that have been completely conquered, when I say completely decimated and eradicated? We're talking about the Jewish people in their homeland, driven out of their homeland and displaced throughout the entire world, and have lived and maintained that culture outside of their homeland, outside of out throughout the entire world, and then have returned to that land and reestablished that culture.
Hey, Eric,
what?
There is some sort of background talking from somebody else's speaker. I can hear coming through, like Rad was saying.
Okay, let me mute Rad. Does that fix it? No, I hear something in the background now that you mention it. Yeah, I hear it. I can hear it now. If I can hear it, we know that everybody can hear it because I'm deaf as a post. I don't know what it is. Hold on. Let me do that. How about now? Can you hear it now?
Nope.
Okay. I think I know what it was. I had I was going to show this video clip on the stream. That's probably what it is. That's my fault. And tell Rad when he comes back up, Rad, we don't think that you're hearing voices in your head anymore. This was a video clip that I had playing. Okay, what was I saying? I was saying something about the historicity of this idea that you have a people group who has been not just been removed from their land, What is this? What was that? Anyway, you have never had this a people group removed from their land completely, ethnically cleansed, and come back.
Wait, Eric,
let alone,
just,
hold on.
just like,
Let me finish this last point.
No, Eric, just like 30 seconds ago, you didn't hear someone say, "You can't explain this to us." A woman's voice. You guys didn't hear that.
I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was said. I think it. I don't know. Maybe it is Issa. We don't know. Let's just blame Issa. Issa takes the blame for a lot of things. He could probably just.
Funny. I actually want to ask a question. I'm sorry if I'm disrupting it, but I want to ask about the whole Sam, David, and AP situation. I think it's an elephant in the room, and I'm curious about what you're all thinking about that.
Well, I think that I think I don't want to talk about it. To be honest, and let me just be honest about this. And here's the reason why. Everybody and their brother is spending all kinds of time on this. And I think everybody on this panel, I might be wrong, has a ton of respect for all three of those guys. And the thing is that everybody's human. Everybody makes mistakes. This thing with AP and, he's still being married. He's running around with another woman, even though he's separated from his wife. And he's trying to, dismiss it as, well, I don't tell it's right. Shut up. Sam and all the bad things coming out about him. Okay, we've all done bad things. I don't know about that, but David too. We're all sinners saved by the grace of God. And by airing all of this dirty laundry, the only thing we were doing is feeding those rats by talking about it. That's the only thing we're doing. I mean, I'll just ask all of you here on the panel. In your opinion, does any of this accomplish anything constructive that you can think of? And if you think it is, let me know. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm totally oblivious.
And I don't agree with it at all, because all it's doing is bringing up the fear-mongering and division among us.
Right. Yeah.
All this whataboutism, what-ifisms, that doesn't matter. We just need to stand together and pray for each other.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else?
The one thing that maybe, they're saying that we criticize Muhammad Hijab, for his, the stuff he says and does.
Right.
And so they're saying that we also need to criticize ourselves. The way that the Behind the Veils guy went after Muhammad Hijab, that's kind of something that I've heard some people saying that. I think David said that I wasn't going to listen to that thing, but I just happened to be driving for 10 hours that day. And so I was like, I got to hear the whole thing, man. And it
all
was
6 hours of that? It
was 6 hours long and with no bathroom break too. So it was like, yeah, boy. So
well, I saw Thaddeus over at Reason Answered has done. I mean, he did a live show. It was 4 hours long on this thing. Him and Mary Harbor over there just slamming on Sam. And let me just be perfectly honest. I absolutely respect the snot out of Sam's ability to debate Muslims, and I love the man for being able to do that and his talent in doing that. But Sam has a temper, and I think they're right for criticizing the temper. But you don't do this, do a whole live stream 4 hours here, 6 hours here on and saying Sam's just this bad. When he banned me from his channel. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. He kicked me. I went to his channel one night, and he's talking about. This is when the Imam Kenny Bomer told that I can't remember the guy's name, that Olympic athlete, that black man at that store that night. He's going to take off his belt and whip him with it, and he was defending Kenny over this. And I was saying, I wasn't calling Kenny a racist. I was saying that Kenny was just clearly demonstrating that his ability. Sam sided with him, so I'm not, this big fan of. And Sam sided with Kenny and banned me, a fellow Christian. So I'm not, a big fan of Sam in any stretch of the word. But I think here's my question: where does this end? What does this accomplish? What does all of this criticism, this open-aired criticism, accomplish? I mean, do any of you see anything being accomplished by this?
Well, I can tell you one thing that I know. So I do a lot of volunteering, and I volunteer at this place called Chosen 300. And basically what Dr. Wood did is exactly what the kind of preachers and pastors do there. They kind of share the difficulties in their life and their vulnerabilities to show that they're imperfect people and that Christ saved them. That's the whole purpose. You kind of were hinting at that, but I think that's why I think his purpose of why he was sharing his kind of story and his testimony was because he was basically saying that, you know what? Yeah, I'm not a perfect person. I'll let everybody know who I am. I don't care if you insult me. I think in the debate space, there's a lot of ego that can rise up. And I think that
that's exactly what it is right there. You put your finger right on it's ego, and I would say borderline narcissism on all three of their parts, to be honest with you. Because all three of them are just absolutely brilliant men, and they know better. They know where this leads to, and they still did it anyway, because what do they got to do? Well, we have to get our comeuppance. We have to give, who does that? Especially if you're a Christian leader. David Wood is the one that really surprises me by engaging this. I don't have a lot of love for AP. I've never really. I respect what he's done, his knowledge, and having the courage to come out of Islam like it. I get it, and I respect all of that. But I've never been a huge fan of his. But to come after him like Sam did, and then to go after Sam, guys, there's a point in the time where you pick up a phone and say, "Hey, yo, this just needs to stop. Let's grow up. You guys are 40, 50 years old, for crying out loud." There's a time in life where you just don't do that. This thing that went with Kenny and I, we're going back. This is Christianity and Islam, guys. These are two diametrically opposed religions, and you have one guy going out of his way to purposely ruin the other guy's life, and so we hit back. But here. And it was because I was Christian, because I would talk about Islam. Here, that's not it. That's not it. It's because they got their feelings hurt because one guy called out another guy. So what are they doing? They just keep repeating, and they're hammering down on this, and it just needs to stop. I mean, because nothing good ever comes out of this. I mean, does it? What good comes out of this? Can anybody tell me anything good that would come out of this? In the chat? Yep, right there, Darcy. Pride goes between the phone, right there. In the chat, anybody? So,
I think, I don't know if I would say it's good, but I think it's like the straw that broke the camel's back. I think there has been a lot of bad blood between these folks. I think when you're in a really heated space and you have differing views of how to engage, a particular argument, and your allies, they say familiarity breeds contempt. So if you're really close to people, and there's like a fine line between love and hate, you know that Dr. Wood and Mr. Shamoon used to work a lot together.
Sure.
And it was surprising. He used to be on this channel too. I was surprised not to have seen him in several years, and now I kind of understand why. It has to do with the Kenny, what do they call it? Like the epic of Imam Bomer, the epics, the epic chronicles. I actually saw him on the channel once. We kind of engaged on his. I think he still does his Consider This channel, and I interacted with him. And
he does. He doesn't publish it if he does.
Yeah, I mean, I agreed with whatever. There was a certain argument I was agreeing with him, and he liked my post on that, which was, I guess, cool. But yeah, some people in the Muslim world, there's a lot of diversity. But one of the things is some Muslims believe music is evil. When you hear people say music is evil, you know that there's a problem. Because you're pretty brainwashed when you say that. But. Right. Especially if you're in a part of Islamic tradition, like you sing the Quran. I hear people say, "Oh, you don't sing it." I'm like, you do. You can call it reciting, but you're singing. You're using harmonics. You're singing it. So
that helps you remember. I mean, that's the easiest way to remember stuff. I mean,
but there's some people like music is evil, and I'm like, when you hear that, you're like, oh, these people are under mind control.
Well, they are brain. I think they're demonically possessed. To be honest with you, that is my honest perspective. Is people who are Muslims, you either have to be some of the dumbest people on the planet, or you're just spiritually blinded people. Yeah, I mean, to think that Muhammad, knowing what we do from the Quran, from the Hadith literature, from the Sirah, knowing what this man did during his life, there's no way in Hades this guy could ever qualify as being a prophet. The man was just evil. And to say that his sunnah, his example, is something to follow. If you follow his sunnah, if you follow his example, you get thrown in jail. That's how bad it is. Okay, let's go back to this.
You're going back to Nigeria, right? No, I was just curious what you felt about that. I was just like,
I appreciate that.
And now the air is cleared. We don't have to talk about it again. So.
Yeah, I just didn't want to make a whole show out of it. Everybody else is talking about doing whole shows, and they're bashing Sam. Here's the thing that I look at Sam. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to take out probably the best Islamic apologists that we have? Is that what your goal is? If it is, then I think that maybe you need to reevaluate. Maybe you should reach out to him and plead with him. And once it's because I think that Sam in a lot of ways has lost his little mind, to be honest with you. I agree with that. But he's still our best apologist. I mean, especially, since it's bent curved towards Catholicism, I think, he's kind of lost it there. But, to sit here and just go full out like that, and it isn't just, and it's just a piling on that I don't know. Maybe he deserves, I don't know. Maybe some people think that he deserves it. I don't think he deserves it. I think he needs some mercy is what he needs. And, maybe he should take some time off and reevaluate. I don't know.
I think we should all, just to throw it out there, we don't need to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but it's out there. And that is that the whole Epstein thing with President Trump today, the New York Times is very happy, you guys. I know this means a lot to some of you. You want the New York Times to be happy. Well, they are very happy today. And so trying to get Trump on the Epstein thing, because some Democrats released some things about him having seen the girl. And so anyway, it's something that's out there.
Anything and everything. Oh, release the Epstein files. Boy, I didn't hear that crap for 4 years. Now it's fine. It's a national security thing. Yeah. All right, let's just get back to this Israel thing, and then we'll call it a night. But I was saying about Israel, when we say about Christian Zionism, the reestablishment of Israel, and Steve, I think he alluded to this. If you don't think that that's a miracle, that Israel was reestablished after being dispersed out of their land for 1,900 years, folks. 1900 years scattered across the globe, and then brought back. There's a prophecy in Ezekiel where it talks about bringing those bones, those dead bones, back into and giving them life. I think that is a pertinent prophecy. This to me, this doesn't happen in history. It's never happened in history. But here you have it happening to a people group that was prophesied that it would happen in the Bible. And then to try to deny it, because I know there's some people that are saying, well, they're secular and they're not true Jews. Or shut up. They're Jews back in the Holy Land, period. You can't get, there's, you can label them whatever you want and say there's X percentage of them are secular. They're just, ethnic Jews and they're not true religious Jews. Okay, whatever. They're back in their promised land by God. It's never happened before. So I'll side with the Christian Zionist side of the house, saying, look, this has never happened before. And since it's never happened before, and the probability of something like this ever happening again is about, let me measure, about 0. Yeah, I would, and I'd be I'd side with Rad and say that, that this idea that, complete nationalism and believe that all that, no, or complete, absolute Zionism, no. But I do think that Jews being back in their land and this accusation of, your Candace Owens and your Tucker Carlsons and all these guys is just, I don't know, it's based on ignorance. All right. Does anybody have anything they want to add before we cut it out tonight? We're only going to go for an hour. I got something I got to get to.
I just want to say about that, about the Israel thing, that, one thing that I've with Arab Christians, because Arab Christians are quite often very anti-Israel as well. Yep. And is that I kind of find that sometimes they think that when we say we support Israel and there's prophecy about Israel, that we're saying that the Jews have another way to be saved. And I think it's so important to just say, no, them being back in the land does not mean they're saved. That does not mean that they have, that they're born again or that they're going to go to heaven. There's only one way to go to heaven, and that's through Jesus Christ. But God does have promises for the Jews, as for Israel, and that He made before that are still being fulfilled. And there are promises to the Jews, like in Zechariah chapter 12 or 14, where it says, where Jesus comes back and they look upon me whom they have pierced. And there is going to be like one last revival for the Jews, like where Gabriel told Daniel, he says that given to your people are 70 weeks. Right. 69 of those weeks have been fulfilled. 1 week, which means 1 7-year period, still remains for the Jews, that God is going to bless. He does have one more blessing for the Jews, before the show is over. And Paul said in the book of Romans that that God, there was a partial blindness that happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles. And that the fullness of the Gentiles means the time of the Gentiles is over. And then God, one more time, gives the Jews another 7 years. And so those are just some of the prophecies that I've seen. And so, but it doesn't mean that they're saved. They still have to come through Jesus Christ. But there is a prophecy that Israel as a nation would be restored.
Yeah, and I 100%. God has a plan. And I don't pretend to know the mind of God and would even think of it. He has a plan for the Jews. They were His chosen people for a reason. And God doesn't abandon you, no matter who you are or what you are. But Steve, you're absolutely right. This plan will include Christ in one shape or another. And you alluded to that prophecy about the 70 weeks. There's this book here. I'm not sure if you guys have read this. wrong way. It's called The Coming Prince. And it talks about the fulfillment of that prophecy down to the day of when Christ enters into Jerusalem. And it's really good. It's interesting. You believe it or not, but it's a really good read talking about all that. Anybody else have anything before we go?
I think I had one thing to say. I think one of the big battles that's going on is there is a space of anti-Semitism, and we have to, or anti-Jewishness, where we have to kind of engage. Like, I think it's a problematic space, and I think it's very hard for people in general, because I think it's just really easy. It's the same thing like you see like anti-Arabness. You see the same kind of thing, these narratives of these collective bashings, and I'm like, we've got to get liberated from what we talked about, liberated from ego and hate. There's a lot of hate, and we got to kind of get liberated from that to have freedom, I think.
Well, what are you doing about it on your college campus?
I work subtly. I work behind the scenes, and I work very subtly. I don't, like you said, I'm not in a place of ego. I don't just put myself and put my face, because my face doesn't matter, but I do my work. I do the work that needs to be done.
I tell you what I'm going to do, Isa. Hold on. Let me grab it for you right here. I'm going to say, hold on. Wait a minute. I got it right here. Hold on. Let me see if I can find the other part of it. I don't see it, but I'll get it for you. I'm going to send you this. You have to send me your address. I'm going to get you a bullhorn, and I'm going to get you an Israeli flag. And you can wrap the Israeli flag around your neck like a cape and walk around talking about how ate up everybody is for being a bunch of anti-Semitic pigs.
You're cute. You're always adorable, brother. You're just a funny guy, man.
I don't know if this thing works anymore. I have to turn this thing off. It's way too loud. Yeah, I got the fresh batteries in there. I got new batteries in there. Okay, Darcy, you got anything to add before we go? Darcy must be AFK. I learned that this week. Away from AFK, away from computer. Or no, AF.
Keyboard.
I'm here.
Oh, keyboard. There we go. Oh, you're there. Okay, there you are. You have anything to add before we go?
I say stop putting so much into this worldly business, because God.
Did everybody just get kicked off, or was that me?
Something happened.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It went black.
Yeah, that was. I don't know what happened. Sorry. What am I doing over here in this corner? Butahari, where were you? Doesn't matter. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Darcy.
Like I was saying, we need to start putting God's voice ahead of all this worldly stuff, because all the fear mongering just keeps getting worse. I know it's part of the prophecy, but we need to start listening to the voice of God.
Amen. Amen. I love that. That's a great way to close out the show. Okay. Well, everybody, I appreciate you coming. Everybody in chat, all your contributions tonight. I appreciate that. Before we go, I had one video clip that I wanted to show tonight. Just one video clip. A couple of weeks ago, I showed a video clip of a Muslim going into St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, which is the church that connects to the Vatican. This is the Vatican's church. And you never guess what? They found another Muslim in St. Peter's Basilica, and look what he's doing here. This joke. Hold on. It'll replay here in a second. What is it? Up there. Get your stuff off the altar. I'll give you one guess. That's the religion of peace right there. Being on the altar of St. Peter, this is the type of respect that they have for Christians. They have none. And as a Christian, we have to stand up with the strongest voices and say, no, no more. All right. God bless y'all. We'll see you next
advanced student and specialist, that the standard narrative has holes. That's what
that the Muslims were rioting against one another. And as much as we don't want to face the fact, the Muslims were lying sometimes. They were fabricating, they were embellishing, and that might be hard to accept, but that is a reality.